Have you ever felt so utterly overwhelmed with this feeling? Something you can't name, but this feeling, it pushes these imaginary walls and traps you in. And the only thing, the sensible thing that you want to do is escape it, to be free, to be heard, to be understood, just so you can finally stop feeling alone. No? Well, you sure are fortunate. Hello, everybody. My name is Utsavi Bavaskar, and for our project, the challenge that we as a group are designing for is mental health. The Sustainable Development Goal 3 Target 4 aspires to foster an environment conducive in promoting and treating mental health. As the world reels from the effects of the global health crisis, waning mental wealth of countries has called for a serious intervention. Mental disorders make up 30% of non fatal disease burden. Anxiety leads the list of mental illnesses ailing Australia today. About 4.2 million people are sure to experience an anxiety related condition during their lifetime, thus making the situation even more bleak. Although anxiety is a common emotion that we all have experienced in our lives, some just today, its consistent and prolonged occurring is what classifies it as a mental disorder. DSM-5 lists 6 specific symptoms such as restlessness, muscle tension, irritability that generally accompany the anxiety disorder. A problem as grave as anxiety poses numerous challenges that need to be addressed while designing for it. Stigma associated with mental health is one major obstacle that has caused fewer than 1 in 4 people to receive treatment. Treatments, although available, are not accessible due to geographic and technological limitations. Additionally, due to lack of mental health literacy, many individuals are ignorant of the impact of mental health on a person, which again propagates dogma and results in delayed intervention. The multiplicity of factors causing anxiety certainly does not make it easier to narrow down on an effective design problem. However, with persistent collaborative efforts by not just educational, government, and health institutions, but also by us as a global community, the mental health challenge of anxiety can be substantially mitigated. Various anxiety treatment and prevention efforts have been taken at international, national, and grassroots levels, including exhibitions, financial allocation of funds, and global partnerships. After deliberation, we considered designing a solution that would effectively address and mitigate the ever present mental health stigma by focusing not on the patients, but the immediate social institutions surrounding the sufferer to better understand the illness that is anxiety.
One of the precedents that we looked at was the Big Anxiety Festival, in which one specific exhibition actually caught our eye, which was the UT Kulinjaku exhibition, which basically was an Aboriginal-led mental health literacy project that takes all of its premise from to listen, think, and understand clearly. And this is designed to remove stigma around anxiety by using conceptual frameworks like participatory design, performative design, where the built environment moves with you, empathetic approach towards design, service design, and virtual reality. And the second precedent that we wanted to talk about was the Elude app, which was designed to make you feel what depression feels like while you play the game. This was helped generate many caregivers for the people who are going through depression, understand what actually meant. And the conceptual frameworks that were very interesting in this particular precedent were metaphorical design, emotional design, and serious game design assessment, which means taking a really serious issue and solving it by using a game or something that's an engaging experience. And then the third precedent that we looked at was Hints app, which is a Ukrainian app that basically gets all of the information that somebody who's feeling anxious needs in order to calm down in that particular moment. It is because of the Ukraine's history of economic crisis and dealing with war that everyone's increasing their anxiety levels even without their knowledge. And the conceptual frameworks that went into this were the human-centered design and usability heuristics, focusing on the user.
I'll talk you through a personas and user journey. The target audience we are looking at are friends and family of people dealing with anxiety and people who want to learn more about it. For example, Ben over here is a single father whose son is dealing with anxiety. He is clueless and struggles understanding his son. When he comes across a poster for the exhibition, he decides to visit it. When he reaches the venue, he is greeted by an employee who explains the process and warns him about potential triggers and safety hazards. He enters the first room of the exhibition and finds himself in complete darkness. He hears whispers of people talking about him. As he struggles through the room, he finds the switches, the lights, which helps him see the affirmations on the wall. He finds the door and walks to the next room, which is the panic room, and followed by the VR room. And once he walks through the whole exhibition, he manages to find the exit, the final door. When he opens the door, he realizes it's a dead end, which is a metaphor for no escape, as there's no easy way out for people dealing with anxiety, and this experience helps Ben to understand his son and relate to him.
The No Escape Room was designed by Parkinson's New South Wales in order to build awareness. It allowed people to step in the shoes of people living with Parkinson's, and it helped shift this common misconception that this disease was of the elderly. It was designed in a way where it was interactive, thus it allowed Australians to understand Parkinson's symptoms through a series of puzzles which was inspired by daily tasks, such as pouring tea, using a computer mouse, or even trying to tie up laces. Each of the tasks was set in a way to simulate Parkinson's symptoms, such as memory loss, stiffness, physical tremors, blurred vision, and confusion. This gave them the feeling of what it's like to be in an everyday life of someone dealing with Parkinson's. This campaign was also brought to life with an interactive digital version, allowing a larger audience to understand Parkinson's. Taking inspiration from this idea, we created a space that would give the feeling of what people suffer from when dealing with anxiety. The first room in Anxiety Escape Room is the dark room. It was based off the simple metaphor, which is feeling like walking down a dark alley. What the room does is it makes the user enter a confined space. They are made to look for light switches, and until they find the correct one, the room lights are turned off. Every time a light switch is turned on, they read affirmations such as "You're doing well, keep going, or stay positive," in order to keep them motivated to get out of the room. The thought of being in utter darkness, not knowing what might be in the surroundings, would give them the feeling of what an anxiety person might feel like almost every day, not just alone but in crowded spaces as well. This is a storyboard of the room of what it might be like for the person experiencing the space. First step would be confusion of what they're doing in the dark space. Then they would start to feel a little anxious, where until they find a light switch, which they turn on, but nothing happens. In moments, an affirmation shows up saying, "You can do it," giving them the motivation to move on, but the lights turn off again, and there's utter darkness, which builds to tension and pressure, and the same process is repeated until they find the correct switch. The entire experience lasts about for 5 minutes until they are successful in finding the correct switch.
The second room is a panic room. The panic room is inspired by panic disorder. The panic room is created to experience panic attack and understand what it feels like dealing with it. The panic room has a simple task to be completed, which is to put the cubes back in its places. However, there are obstacles, like the floor of the room keeps vibrating and the ceiling keeps lowering every 2 seconds. And there's a huge timer on the wall indicating that the participants are running out of time. These obstacles help the participant get nervous and panic. Through this room, the participants can understand what it feels like to suffer from panic disorder. She will be explaining room number 3.
This particular room uses an app which is Adventures with Anxiety, where the player plays the role of the anxiety of another person and uses metaphorical design and social situations in order to induce anxiety to make people understand what anxiety feels like. So this specific room is designed to make you feel that anxiety using VR technology. And the other things that are in the room are the room is self-adjusting in terms of temperature and in terms of sound, in terms of the task that you have to finish, and even the floors change based on what you're seeing in the VR room. And one main thing that we wanted to include was an aspect of remote experience where somebody who's sitting at home during the pandemic can still use their laptops or iPads just to experience the room. Once the users have finished all of the rooms and the tasks that are associated to experience anxiety, this is the notice that will appear. It basically shows that there is no actual escape for anxiety because you just learn to live with it or get help to understand your loved ones going through anxiety, or it's you who's going through anxiety. Thank you very much for listening.